What's up, Steelers Nation? Welcome back to the channel. And man, the Steelers just keep looking for ways to get better every single week. Whether it's adding more weapons for Aaron Rodgers or getting key guys healthy, this team is clearly on a mission to dominate the AFC this year. Before we jump into today's huge story, Odell Beckham Jr. reportedly wanting to join the Pittsburgh Steelers, make sure to drop a like if you believe the black and gold are finally building something special this season. It really helps the channel, and it shows that Steelers Nation is alive and loud. All right, let's get into it, because we've got a lot to unpack. From OBJ's public comments about wanting to play with Rodgers in Pittsburgh, to his recent suspension, and even some very encouraging injury updates on Jaylen Warren and the defense. So here's the headline, folks. Odell Beckham Jr. wants to join the Pittsburgh Steelers. Yep, you heard that right. OBJ himself said it during his appearance on the Pivot podcast, where he openly mentioned the Steelers while talking about potential landing spots. Beckham said, quote, "I don't know if this is a pitch. I'm just like, I look at the LA Rams. I look at the Steelers. I know it was Calvin Austin, right? Something was happening. The Chiefs, and you definitely got to see me back in that blue thing before I get out of here. It's my creed to those fans." Now, that might sound a little cryptic, but what really caught the attention of Steelers fans, and let's be honest, probably the front office too, was that he specifically mentioned Pittsburgh by name. And when OBJ talks about teams he'd like to join, that means something. This is a guy who's been one of the NFL's biggest personalities for a decade, from the one-handed catch in New York to a Super Bowl ring with the Rams. Let's not forget, Odell Beckham Jr. was a first-round pick by the New York Giants back in 2014. He absolutely exploded onto the scene. 91 catches, over 1,300 yards, and 12 touchdowns as a rookie. That earned him Offensive Rookie of the Year and made him a three-time Pro Bowler with over 5,400 yards and 44 touchdowns in his first 5 seasons. Then, of course, the Giants shipped him off to the Cleveland Browns in 2019. That's where things started to go downhill. Injuries, frustration, and the fit just wasn't there. In Cleveland, OBJ put up just 1,586 yards and 7 touchdowns across 29 games before being released in 2021. But right after that, he joined the Los Angeles Rams, and boom, Super Bowl champion. He was playing great football again until, unfortunately, he tore his ACL during that very Super Bowl game. Fast forward to 2023, Beckham joins the Baltimore Ravens, plays 14 games, and puts up 565 yards with 3 touchdowns. Not bad, but not prime OBJ either. Then came a short stint with the Miami Dolphins in 2024, and that's where things completely fell apart. Just 9 catches for 55 yards in 9 games. Easily the worst season of his career. But here's where things get interesting. Beckham and Aaron Rodgers have spoken highly of each other for years. OBJ has admitted publicly that he and Rodgers had conversations about teaming up. He said as much on the Club Random podcast with Bill Maher earlier this offseason, saying he and Rodgers had talked about doing something special together. And now that Rodgers is a Steeler, those conversations start to feel a lot more real. Imagine that, Aaron Rodgers throwing to Odell Beckham Jr. in black and gold. It's the kind of storyline that gets every fan hyped, even if OBJ isn't the player he once was. But before we all start photoshopping Beckham into a Steelers uniform, there's a big problem. He's been suspended for 6 games due to a PED violation from last season. Beckham himself addressed it on the Pivot, calling it a mistake and saying he's learned from it. So even if Pittsburgh wanted to bring him in, he wouldn't be available right away. And let's be honest, it's fair to ask if the Steelers were ever seriously interested in the first place. At 32 years old, coming off multiple ACL tears and a suspension, it's a risk. And Omar Khan has made it clear. He's looking for value and long-term consistency, not headline signings that may or may not work. Now, let's talk fit. The Steelers do still need help at wide receiver. After losing George Pickens in that trade earlier this year, Pittsburgh has relied heavily on DK Metcalf and young receivers like Calvin Austin III. And while Austin's flashed potential, the offense still lacks that dynamic, crafty veteran who can win on one-on-one matchups and make clutch plays down the field. That's exactly the role Beckham could fill, at least in theory. He wouldn't need to be the WR1 anymore. He'd be the third option behind Metcalf and tight end Pat Freiermuth. He could work the slot, find soft spots in the defense, and give Rodgers another trusted route runner in key moments. But again, the question is, can he still play? OBJ hasn't had a 1,000-yard season since 2019. His speed and explosiveness aren't what they used to be, and the injuries have clearly slowed him down. Still, if Beckham's serious about joining Rodgers in Pittsburgh, and if he's willing to take a low-cost, incentive-based deal, it's not impossible. And let's be real, if anyone could rejuvenate his career, it's Aaron Rodgers. Now, before we wrap up, let's hit on some great news from practice this week, because Mike Tomlin just gave some major updates after the bye. The Steelers are sitting at 3-1, off to a strong start. Rodgers been sharp, the defense is nasty, and this team looks locked in. But the best part? They're finally getting healthy again. Jaylen Warren, who missed that Dublin game against the Vikings due to a knee injury, is expected back this week against the Browns. Tomlin said Warren was a pre-game decision before the trip overseas. They tested him before kickoff, but decided not to risk it. As Tomlin put it, we didn't want to put him in uniform and then he wouldn't be able to finish. Jaylen's a tough guy, but I thought it was prudent not to. And that decision paid off. Warren's now trending in the right direction, and the bye week gave him time to fully recover. While Warren was out, Kenneth Gainwell stepped up big time. 99 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns, and 19 carries. That performance not only helped Pittsburgh win, but it also showed they can rotate backs effectively. Through 4 games, Warren has 132 rushing yards on 43 carries. The numbers don't pop off the page, but with Rodgers under center and defenses playing lighter backs, there's a real opportunity for him to bounce back strong in the coming weeks. And it's not just Warren getting healthy. Tomlin also confirmed that linebacker Alex Highsmith and corner Joey Porter Jr. are trending to play this Sunday against Cleveland. That's massive, because the Steelers' defense with both of those guys on the field is a completely different animal. Porter's physicality and Highsmith's speed off the edge make this defense one of the most complete in football. The Steelers are gearing up for one of the best rivalries in football, a home matchup against the Cleveland Browns. Pittsburgh is coming off their bye week, well-rested and ready to roll, while the Browns are limping back from a long trip to London.
Here's a crazy stat for you. The Browns haven't won a regular season game in Western Pennsylvania since 2003. That's over 2 decades of misery for Cleveland fans when they come to Heinz Field. And this week, it doesn't get any easier for them, because rookie quarterback Dillon Gabriel will be walking straight into a defensive buzzsaw led by TJ Watt, Alex Highsmith, and a secondary that's been feasting on mistakes. For the Steelers, things are finally starting to trend up. The bye week came at the perfect time, and Mike Tomlin just gave fans a mix of great news and a few cautious updates on the team's health heading into Week 6. Let's start with the positives. During his weekly press conference, Tomlin confirmed that the Steelers are expecting the returns of Joey Porter Jr., Alex Highsmith, and Jaylen Warren this week. That's huge. Porter's been one of the team's most reliable defensive playmakers before his injury, and getting him back gives the secondary some serious stability. Highsmith's return adds that second punch opposite TJ Watt, a nightmare combination for any young quarterback, especially one like Dillon Gabriel who's still adjusting to NFL speed. And of course, Jaylen Warren, the spark plug of this offense, looks ready to go after dealing with a knee issue in Dublin. He'll be sharing snaps with Kenneth Gainwell, who filled in beautifully before the bye. That 1-2 punch could be exactly what this offense needs to stay balanced and keep defenses honest. So yeah, on the surface, things are looking pretty good for Pittsburgh. But now let's get to the names that have everyone talking: Calvin Austin III and Jalen Ramsey. Earlier this week, reports came out that both Calvin Austin III and Jalen Ramsey might miss this weekend's matchup. But hold on, Mike Tomlin isn't ready to make that call just yet. Here's what he said during his press conference. 2 guys that we're watching very closely that will certainly be limited at the front part of the week, but may perk up and be included toward the latter part of the week are Calvin Austin with his shoulder and Jalen Ramsey with his hamstring. Both have been highly aggressive from a rehabilitation standpoint during the bye week, and so I'm really encouraged by the potential of those guys, but we'll take it certainly day to day. That's classic Tomlin. No panic, no predictions, just a steady message that both players are being monitored closely. For Calvin Austin, that's a major relief. On Monday, he even admitted to reporters that he wasn't sure if he'd need to go on injured reserve, but based on Tomlin's tone, it sounds like that's off the table. The team wants to keep him active and give him every chance to practice this week. That's big, because Austin's speed and route running have been crucial to opening up space for DK Metcalf and Pat Freiermuth. Without him, the Steelers' passing game loses some of that quick strike capability they've been building with Aaron Rodgers. Now, Jalen Ramsey's situation is a little trickier. Earlier this week, reports came out that Ramsey suffered a minor hamstring tear, the same injury that Joey Porter Jr. dealt with back in Week 1. And as we all know, hamstring injuries can be unpredictable. You might feel fine one day and tweak it again the next. Tomlin said Ramsey has been highly aggressive with his rehab, which is great, but this could easily turn into a multi-week process. Some insiders believe Ramsey could miss anywhere from 1 to 3 games depending on how his body responds. So don't be surprised if the team plays it safe here. If anyone knows how to protect his guys for the long haul, it's Mike Tomlin. Here's another wrinkle that makes this even more complicated. After this week's matchup with Cleveland, the Steelers have a Thursday night football game in Week 7, and that's bad news for anyone nursing an injury. Former NFL lineman Stott Questionberry even pointed out on X that teams don't really practice during short weeks, especially when travel is involved. So if Austin and Ramsey can't prove they're ready by the end of this week, odds are they'll also miss the next one. That's why this upcoming practice stretch is critical. Tomlin made it clear that both players will start the week limited, and they'll be reevaluated daily. If Austin's shoulder responds well, he could absolutely suit up on Sunday. But for Ramsey, the timeline's much more uncertain. The good news, the cornerback room will look a lot stronger with Joey Porter Jr. back and Levi Wallace playing more confidently since stepping into a larger role. That gives the team some flexibility to give Ramsey another week or two if needed. So here's where we stand, Steelers Nation. Odell Beckham Jr. wants to be a Steeler. He said it publicly, he's talked with Rodgers, and even though there's that 6-game suspension and some doubts about his current form, the idea of ODB in Pittsburgh catching passes from Rodgers is the kind of move that could shake up the entire AFC. But here's my question to you guys. Should the Steelers take a chance on Odell Beckham Jr.? Would you welcome ODB to Pittsburgh as a veteran weapon for Rodgers, or do you think it's time to move on and keep developing the younger guys? Let me know your thoughts down below. I read every single comment. And if you love this kind of Steelers talk, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe to the channel so you never miss a single update. We've got more exclusive insider stories coming all season long. Until next time, here we go Steelers.